Hi, I'm Giselle.
And I'm Xana.
And together we are
The Strong Sunflowers.
Hello, Strong Sunflowers. Welcome back to another episode here at the Strong Sunflowers. We are so happy to be here. It's another Monday, the last Monday of the year. Can you freaking believe it? What the hell? What the hell? This week leading to the holidays and the craziness, we're so glad that we got to go to Hawaii. We have so many things that we've learned from Hawaii. It was freaking magical. I literally was landing, and as soon as I stepped into Hawaiian air, I was like, oh my gosh. I don't know how to explain it, but you need to go to Hawaii. 10 out of 10 recommend. Leave your family, book the trip. It's fine. Go do it. Because I was getting goosebumps and I started crying as I was waiting for Santa at the airport. Because it's an outside airport and it's just like the spirit, the vibe. It was just amazing. It was magical. But before we start this episode, letting you know all the goods and funs and things that we learned on our trip to Hawaii, you already know. Go share, like, subscribe to your mom, to your friend, to your cat. Tell everybody you know to go follow the Strong Sunflowers because we lit over here. But Z, what are we going to talk about today?
Yes, Queen. We each have 5 life lessons that we've taken away from our experience in Hawaii. And so I'm super excited. I know initially G was like, let's share 10 each. I'm like, 20 things? I don't know about that, G. I think maybe 3 to 5. So of course we landed on the 5. And so we just kind of want to, what the Hawaiians say, talk story, let you hear about our experiences, what we took away from it. And hey, when we're going back, in all honesty, we can't wait. We want to book the next trip because we had that great of a time. So, G, what's the first life lesson that you want to share with the field?
First life lesson for me definitely is not as hard as you think, and it's not as scary as you think. My friend went to Hawaii this summer and she was like, you need to go shark diving. And I told Santa and I was like, we're doing it. And she's like, with a cage, right? I'm like, hell nah, no cage. We out here. Do you know how to swim? Hell nah, we just doing the thing. I'm by the way, I can doggy paddle, so I won't drown. But I mean, doggy paddling versus a shark, my chances are low. My chances are low. But hey, when in Hawaii. So I told Santa, we have to do it. And I remember when I first told her, she's like, I'm a mother of 4. What the hell did you got me into? I have to come back for my kids. We're swimming with sharks. And everybody that I would talk to, they're like, you're freaking crazy. You're going to come back with a missing arm and a missing leg, and they're going to attack and all this crazy stuff, all these negative talk, right? They're trying to talk me down, but honey, I already booked it. It's happening. And I really feel like there was a lot of anxiety, at least for me, thinking of oh my gosh, we're really going to do this. We're going to go swim with sharks. Because for me, even though I'm from Cuba, small island, or the biggest island in the Caribbean, actually, I'm scared of the ocean. I love the ocean. I think it's so powerful, but it has so much mystery. And I'm always curious, what the hell is in here? So I live in Florida and I don't go to the beach because I'm like, there might be a shark there. But when I'm international, I'm like, it's fine. It's fine. I'm going for it. So I've always been really scared to go swimming, especially because I suck at it, out and about because of sharks, because what's out there. And I've always been really scared of that. So that was one of okay, I'm facing my fear. So when I got to Hawaii, I was like, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. And as soon as I got in the water and I saw these sharks just circling underneath us the whole time, I was like, oh my gosh, it's not as scary as I thought. It's not as hard as I thought. I was like, it was so peaceful. It was so peaceful. And really facing that fear and realizing, hey, this thing is not really here to hurt me. It's just, this is my environment. This is my element. They don't have arms to be like, hey, you're in my space. Hey, move, it was just incredible. And one of the things that I wrote in my journal while I was journaling there, I was like, once you let go of your fear you're free to thrive in your full potential. And after that, like Xana and I were like snorkeling with the sea turtles, the sharks. This guy was like, can we go in a shark cave? Give me your GoPro. I was like, do it. Wake those sharks up. Tell them we're here. Like, it was amazing. But like, once I let that fear go, like I could truly thrive. Like I was doing all the things. We went surfing and I got to stand on the board and paddle out there without worried of like, oh my gosh, what if a shark comes? Let them come. It is what it is. Like I was just out there in the abundance of the ocean, living my best life. So I think that was the number one lesson that I learned from Hawaii is like, it's not as scary as you think. You will build it up in your mind. You will create it to be this huge, impossible thing, but it's not. It's 100% doable.
It's so true. And literally again, I'll tell the field this, that we wrote down our takeaways from this trip separately, but we had this amazing shared experience. So one of my life lessons was things aren't as scary up close. And my shark diving experience, I'm a pretty advanced swimmer. I've lived in Hawaii before. I've surfed before. And it's true, G, you always kind of have that fear in the back of your mind. Girl, I had a friend that got bit by a freaking turtle while surfing, like you don't know what's going to happen. The ocean is this kind of outer space type element that we haven't even begun to discover and understand. But I think the shark diving experience gave me a lot of anxiety as well. But I think what I love the most is when we went with this company, it's called One Ocean. Highly recommend them. They have amazing divers, a lot of women divers, and they teach you about the shark. And, the image that we are used to seeing is Jaws and, how the media spins them. And like, I think even like a day later after we went on this shark diving adventure, a woman was attacked by a shark in Maui and it was all over the headlines. And I was like, guess what? I think there's like 3 to 5 deaths by shark per year. You're more likely to die in an accident. You're more likely to die or get bitten by a New Yorker than you are a shark, because the media makes it bigger than it actually is. You have this fear and this anxiety in the ocean instead of just enjoying the moment, like G was saying. And so getting the education about, hey, guess what? They are a predator. They are an apex predator. They should be respected. You shouldn't be chasing after them and, trying to get in their face, because guess what? They don't have arms. They can't talk. They probably will bite you. But if you learn how to be respectful in their space and understand the hierarchy of sharks, we learn that like the little sharks tend to be on the bottom, and those tiger sharks or great whites, like they're going to be on the top of the water, and you are a big predator too. So guess what? You got to act like one. And if they come near you, you put their flipper in your face, right? You put an inanimate object in front of their face, like your GoPro. And if they still push towards you, you push their nose down so they change their direction. And guess what? When you create those boundaries, they respect you. And so it was like so cool to me that like, I've been surfing before where I've constantly been thinking about, what if I get bit by a shark? Like there's that story about that chick in Kauai that got her arm bitten off, but guess what? She made a beautiful life out of a horrible incident. And if that happened to me too, I'm sure I'd do the same thing. So let's just be present in the moment, face the fear, and guess what? You're going to have an incredible experience that you're going to be able to tell your grandkids and their kids and so on, and your whole family for the rest of your life about it. We just had such an incredible experience. And I think one blessing for me, because I did have a lot of anxiety, how G's saying like, I have 4 kids. Yeah, I was like a little nervous not being in a cage and not having something to protect me. But on the way out there, I had to pee so bad, y'all. Like, couldn't think about anything else other than me having to pee. And I don't know if you all have visited Hawaii, but there's not a lot of public bathrooms. So like if you aren't going to pee in a place where you've paid, like even in 7-Eleven, I was like, I'm willing to pay for anything. They're like, nah, no public bathrooms, get out. So when I got to the boat, I was like, is there a bathroom on the boat? And they're like, nah, there's not, but there's an ocean. We'll be there in 20 minutes. Like you'll be the first in the water. I'm like, oh my gosh. So the whole time out to the water, I'm just thinking about, oh my gosh, I just have to pee. And then I kind of got over myself, right? I knew that I needed to get in the water with these sharks. I knew that I needed to let nature call and like get this urine out of my body. And so it kind of took the nerves away. Like I was just like, I gotta go. So I like get in the water slowly and I start pulling myself over to the boat. I relieve myself and then I look down and there's just these beautiful sharks swimming under me, not even giving a you know what about my little legs floating around, not even looking at me. They got fish hanging out with them, right? So it was such a cool experience, one that will be in my book of memories for the rest of my life, a real core memory for sure. Gee, what's another one of your life lessons?
And before we continue, I just wanted to say, like, how you were saying the hierarchy, like, we were at the top, we are the big bosses. And in life, we don't see ourselves as such. And whatever aspect of life that we're doing, whether it's work related, it's like, oh my gosh, like my confidence is like this because there's a huge, big bad boss or big bad shark in our eyes, but we're at the top. That means that we are priority. We are the big bad wolf. So when they come at us, when you said like Juju was one of our diving instructors, she was amazing, by the way. Love Juju on that beat. Juju on that beat. And
What
she
is
was
it?
just,
Shark. What's her name? What's her Instagram name?
we'll tag her on the video when we
Shark
do the
Kid
thing.
Juju. She's amazing. Go follow her. Her content's amazing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. She's always diving with the tiger sharks. But how they touch, they kind of like redirect them. And I love how you were talking about boundaries, even with sharks. And you think like this huge, like, I don't even know how many pounds, like 17-footer, like tiger shark respects your boundary. So you're like, nope, I'm here. You can swim that way. You know, imagine a freaking human. Set those boundaries. 5 tips to becoming a strong ass sunflower. Tip number 2, say no and set boundaries. You ain't gonna eat me today. I got 4 kids.
Bam. And two, like if you act scared, if you swim away, if you make a bubble trail, then they'll chase you. You've piqued their curiosity, right? And so it's the same with humans, right? You just gotta set your boundaries, set your limits, and don't act scared. You got this. You're the predator, baby.
Yes, 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 yes. But for me, number 2 is when in doubt, stay calm. Stay the fuck calm. Just stay calm. So this came to me when I went to Manoa Falls. I went on Sunday after Santa ran the marathon, and she took like 2 Advil PM, and she was like, "Bye, deuce. I'm going to bed." And I'm like, "Okay, what am I gonna do?" So I decided to take myself on this trail, and I went to these falls, Manoa Falls, and they're beautiful. 10 out of 10 recommend them in Hawaii. When I got there was like this smoothie cart, whatever. I got a pineapple pina colada. I was like, wow. So I'm over here going through this forest. It was amazing. It was like a rainforest. So it started raining. It was wild. But I had this pineapple with me. I'm by myself. People started to turn back because of the rain, but I was like, I'm already here. I'm going to see the waterfall. So I went there. And by the time that I got there, I was the only one there. And I went into the waterfall. And of course, it has like a whole bunch of little rocks and pebbles. And again, my fear, I have a fear of the unknown. That's why my dynamic with the ocean, I don't like to not know, not see what's there, you know? So I'm going into the water and I'm like, I'm trying to like stumble my way through. Some of the rocks are really big and you think you can step on it, but then they shift and you like almost fall over. So I started freaking out a little bit because I didn't know how deep this was. And something inside of me was just like, stay calm. So I stayed calm and I let those ripples from the waterfall, from my movement, from my craziness, my anxiety just dissipate. And then I could see where I should put my next step. I could see a little clearer the depth of this waterfall and this little pool that I was around it. That made me realize in my own life, especially when we're in the chaos, when we're in the craziness, when we're in life, and it's so loud. Stay calm. When it's loud, find your peace. Find your inner peace. Wait for those ripples of chaos to dissipate. Just wait. Take some time for yourself to find your inner peace. And I promise you, you will know for yourself what's your next step. And that was mind blowing for me. It was very important for me because usually when our life gets in chaos, we start looking outside for validation. And we're kind of making those splashes and those bubbles and those ripples. And that's when the sharks can come. And we just start asking for help too fast when we have the answers that we need. So when we're in that chaos, we're like, oh, what should I do? Let me ask my friend. Let me ask my mom. Let me ask my boss. Let me ask this girl from the street. Like, what would you do in this situation? They're not in your shoes. They're just creating more ripples and then it's not letting you see. So you have the answers to your own questions. You just have to sit in it, be calm, find your peace so you can see your options and then you know your next move.
I love that. That's beautiful. I wish I did that hike with you, but girl, I was out. That Advil PM knocked me out, I think, for 5 hours. I think you came back and it was dark outside and I was ready to eat dinner. But my next life lesson was who's in your field matters. And our first day, like our first full day there, we really wanted to get some of the hikes out of the way so that I wouldn't burn out my legs prior to the marathon. We wanted like, 2 days where we could just kind of go to the beach, go shark diving, do our things. And so we knew that we wanted to do these big hikes. So Diamond Head and Cocoa Head, like early on in the trip. And we ended up doing them on the same day. And what was really cool is the amount of people that we met. And G kind of started this rhythm, like on her plane ride over, she sat next to a bunch of people running the marathon. It started with a woman celebrating her 50th and a man celebrating something off his bucket list. And I think he was like 60 or 70, he'd just gotten a divorce. And so we already kind of had this rhythm of, we have this picture of what marathoners look like, which is like a fit 20 to 30 something male or female with 6-pack abs and 0 body fat. And what we quickly realized, especially on these hikes, were that marathoners come in all shapes and sizes. And when I was able to see that, it really gave me the confidence, like, oh my gosh, I think I like going to the marathon. I had this fear because I got really sick before I did my last training run. I did 18 miles and then I ended up getting strep and was like super sick. I still have like residual voice issues right now from strep. And so I think I got in my head a lot, like, what if I don't finish? Like, what if I fail to finish? Like, oh my gosh. But when G started telling me about, oh no, I met this person and they're doing it and they don't care if they walk the whole time, I was like, oh my gosh, like that's my goal. I just want to finish. And then on this hike, we saw, first off, I'll start with Diamond Head. We met probably like 5 or 6 people. One girl was running for her dad that had passed away. Another guy, he's on this mission to run a marathon or half marathon in every state. And he had already run 22 marathons like in 4 years. It was just incredible. And I think another beautiful thing was we hiked Diamond Head in the dark, right before sunrise. And as we were kind of walking up the hill and getting to the mountain, we could see all these flashlights ahead of us. And so it was almost like that butterfly analogy, right? They were like the mentors that were like, this is possible. Like, we're doing it. Like, you can do it too. And then the same thing happened in Cocoa Head. Cocoa Head, y'all, is 1,000 steps up a freaking mountain. Like, it was so hard. It was so, so hard. And I can't believe we did it in the same day, but I'm so, so glad we did. But that analogy of who's in your field just kept coming back because as we were climbing and struggling, like, y'all, we were like, there were times we had to sit down because our legs were burning so badly. But people coming down the mountain that had already gotten to the top, that had already seen the view, they'd say, you're almost there. Keep going. I know it's hard, but you got this, right? Or, there were 2 paths at one point. One that was like a bridge of stairs. And so you could like see down the mountain. And then there was like a bypass where you could kind of walk through rock around that. And so G and I both looked at each other and she's like, I'm going over the bridge. And I was like, I don't feel comfortable going over the bridge. So I'm going to go the bypass. Like, I could trip and fall and then my kids don't have a mother anymore. Right. So, each of us chose our own path, but we got insight on that before we got to that point so that we didn't do it blindly. We had people that were mentoring us along the way that let us know, hey, you're going to have these 2 choices, like figure out what you're going to do. And so then we felt confident in our decisions because we could, it wasn't just a romantic or emotional decision. It was more cognizant and logical. And then I think the most beautiful thing was like once we got to the top and we saw the beautiful views and we took all these pictures and felt the wind in our hair and talked to more people about the marathon and found more marathoners and told people about the podcast and just connected to people, we ended up making our way down. And then we got to be those people that were encouraging us and seeing those people that had like, you know, those eyes where they're exhausted and they just never think it's going to end. And we could look at them in their eyes and say, it's worth it. It's so worth it. You're almost there. Keep going. So I think, yeah, who's in your field matters was just, and those are just 3 examples of where I experienced that, but it literally happened through the entire trip, and it was magical. So that's my second life lesson, G. What you got for number 3?
Literally take all your life expectations, all your expectations in general, and throw them in the trash. Because there were people in wheelchairs, there were people with crutches, there was a lady holding a baby, there was a 6-year-old running the marathon. I was like, okay, I see you. Like, it was wild. And Coco Head was Coco Head. But again, back to my one, it's not as hard as you think. Because when we were like midway there, we're like, oh, look at all that we already done. I mean, we're dying. Like, there was a point that Santa was like, you know what? You know what? I'm leaving my backpack right here. She cannot come with me. And sometimes when we're in the journey, we gotta let some things go. We gotta lean out because we ain't gonna make it together. I gotta let you go. I'll be back.
Girl, that
I'm
extra
coming.
weight, it was like it was just what I needed to keep going, you know, and that is a beautiful analogy in life. You gotta get rid of the baggage.
I'm coming back for you, baby. It's a TikTok. But for me, my number 3 is don't dwell in the failure. Don't dwell on the failure. I learned this lesson when we went surfing. When we went surfing, I remember, I think my first or my second time, I got up on the board and I was so excited. I was so excited. And because we've had all those experiences with snorkeling and shark diving and all those crazy stuff, I wasn't afraid of the water. So I would fall off and then I would like get back on and like paddle out and like catch my next wave. But as I saw you out there riding the wave, getting up there, and then the next wave that would come after you, I was like, we can't be dwelling in our failure. We have to enjoy the wave that we took. If we fall or we fail, if we don't do it the way that we wanted to do it, every time I fell off the board and started paddling back out, I was like, okay, my left foot was like this. Maybe this time I'm going to try it like this. And then I'm going to try to get up a little faster or a little slower or be further back on my board. But I'm going to go out and do it again. And sometimes we dwell so much in our failure that it doesn't allow us the opportunity to get back on the wave because there's another wave coming. Why are you crying about the wave that it's gone? It's over. It's fine. There's more opportunities coming your way. You just have to be ready for it. So start paddling out again and catch the next wave because they're always coming. They're always coming. So that was a really big one that I learned. Yeah, just don't dwell on the failure because when you dwell on it, you just miss so many waves, miss so many opportunities. For what? Just go live your best life.
I put that as my third as well was, you know, catching the wave is half the battle. Surfing has always been an analogy that's really motivated me in life because I always think that people picture surfing as you catching the wave, you know, getting barreled, doing the hang loose and walking on your board and looking all cool. But there's so much more grit to it. Like first you got to get a board, then you got to wax it. Oh, maybe wax it after you take it to the freaking beach, right? It's a journey to get to the beach. We rented boards from this cute little place in Waikiki and we literally had a cart that pushed the boards to the beach. And then from there, you know, you do a little practice run of paddling out, making sure you're comfortable. Stand up on the board on the sand and, you know, kind of understand what, you know, based on what board size you have, like where your hand should be. Are you goofy? Are you regular? Right? What are the 4 steps to stand up? Okay, I think I got it. Then you paddle out. Then you wait. You wait for the wave. You wait for the wave that's actually going to launch your board forward, because not all waves are going to launch your board forward. You got to wait for the right one. And then once you take it, that's your chance to stand up. And sometimes you wipe out. Sometimes you're like me and you jump off the board before it gets to the shore again, because girl, I don't want to paddle out again. But gee, I remember it was so beautiful. The instructor kept telling us, keep your eye on the shore. Keep your eye on the shore. And it was like, G and I kept saying, keep your eye on the goal. Like if you're in your head and like, oh, I don't want to paddle back out, or I don't want to do X, Y, and Z. Well, guess what? You're not going to obtain the goal. Look towards the shore. That's the end in mind. Write it as long as you can. And then, hey, if you get off, that's when you have that decision, what we call the harvest, to figure out what you're going to do next. Do you want to paddle out? Great. Go again. Try to catch another wave. Do you feel happy with the wave that you rode and you're good? Fine. Get out of the water. Rinse off your board and walk it back to where you got it from. So I just love the ocean and surfing. It always just reminds me of life, and really makes me think about the decisions that I make, and then even just kind of owning up to the decisions I've already made. I think another, and I'll tag it to this one. I wouldn't say that it's a separate life lesson, but I didn't really have closure in Hawaii. I think I've always thought about Esteban sacrificing for me, leaving Uruguay for me. But I really left Hawaii for him. I didn't want to leave, it wasn't something that I was looking for jobs. I was looking for apartments. I was looking for him to go to school in Hawaii. And so when I was there again, this is the first time I'd been back since I graduated from college. It was this realization that like, I made a sacrifice too. And that this was closure, right? I chose the wave of leaving the island and getting married and having a family. And it's a beautiful wave and I'm still on it. But I wanted to paddle back to Hawaii and experience it again on my terms with a better camera, which I almost lost in the ocean, y'all. I had one of those like pouches and I hopped on my board and started paddling and it ripped off me and fell in the ocean. And I looked at G and she's like, girl, you know what I say? Keep looking. And I dove and I found it and it was amazing. And I was like, I'm gonna go put this back on the shore because this is not the wave we need right now. I don't want to buy a new phone. But it was, again, just, I'm so glad. I'm so proud of myself as an 18-year-old that knew nothing about life and moved to the island by herself and found herself in a lot of ways and lost herself in a lot of other ways. And I'm thankful for the version of myself that I brought back and what I got to experience with Giselle and my other friends that went, because it literally, again, was a trip for the books. It's the trip I will continue to tell my family about. There are so many incredible experiences. So catching the waves, half the battle, but it's worth it. Keep paddling out, keep trying to stand up. Eventually, you're going to get the wave that's going to take you to that next chapter of life. And then once you get to the shore, got to figure out what's next.
I was telling her, stay calm. Remember when I told you from Manoa Falls, stay calm. But oh my gosh. Yeah, definitely surfing taught us a lot. Surfing taught us a lot. And another thing, because that's something that I wrote in my journal too, when our instructor was telling us to focus on the shore. And I felt like when I was focusing in general, when we don't focus on the shore, aka our goals, and we start focusing on our inabilities, our insecurities. When we focus on our insecurity, it doesn't allow us to focus on our potential and our abilities because we are able to do this. So when he said that, I was like, okay, I need to stop focusing on what if I fall? What if I don't make it? What if my foot doesn't come up fast enough? What if the wave is too big? What if the wave is too small? What if, what if? Just focus on the shore. And I remember I had this one wave that Santa was throwing herself off. I was like, I'm riding this all the way to the shore. So I remember there was this one wave and I just rode it all the way. And I was like, this the whole time. And I was like, yeah. Are these called hakas? No. Chakas?
Shakas.
I was throwing the chakas the whole time. I was like, ah! It was amazing. And I was, 10 out of 10 recommend. But that's what happens when you focus on your goal. You reach that blue moment and you're like, chakas all the way to the bank. It was amazing.
Shackles all the way to the bank. That sounds like a rap song.
It probably is. I'm not taking credit for it. It probably is. For me, that I learned in Hawaii was get out of your own way. Literally get the hell out of your own way. When we were getting ready for Hawaii and we were thinking of like content to do for the podcast and how to incorporate it into what we were doing, I was like, we should totally interview people that might be running the marathon, at the marathon, all the things. So I was just out there, like, just talking to anybody and everyone, like, hey, we have a podcast. My co-host is running a Honolulu Marathon. Why are you running the Honolulu Marathon and not Honoluluing with me? So it was really cool to hear all these stories. Like Santa said earlier, Mark, hey Mark, I think he's our biggest fan now. But he was like, yeah, I just got divorced and I've always wanted to come to Hawaii. And I've always wanted to do a marathon, so why not do my first one in Hawaii? I'm like, hell yeah, Mark, live your very best life. And I also talked to this one girl that she's like, I'm running this for my brother that passed away last year from leukemia. I met this other couple that did it together. They were on vacation because he just got his nurse practitioner's license and they were celebrating and they're like, why not? Let's run a marathon together. I'm like, wow, y'all are those kind of couples. That's not me. It's like, really? You just randomly decided to run this marathon? But it was just so many people with amazing stories. Of course, we found like some Hispanics, Latinos representing from Mexico. And they're like, yeah, I'm like, why are you here? He's like, well, I got bamboozled by my friend over here to do it. We also met a lady that she has run 63 marathons, 63, and she was like 65. I'm like, just crazy amount of stories and the behind the reason. And out of all those people that I talked to and that I put myself out there and I told them about the podcast, only one said, no, I don't really want to be interviewed right now. But he had just finished running the marathon and respecting that boundary, you know. But 1 out of 100, like at least, I think I talked to at least 100 people. 1 out of 100 said no. Those are pretty good odds, you guys. That's a 99. That's a 99 on a test. I shall take it. That's an A plus. But yeah, we get so much in our way and we're like, who wants to know about our podcast? Like, who wants to talk to me? Everyone. Because when I was interviewing the girl with her that was doing the marathon for her brother that passed away from leukemia, the other girl next to her was like, her name is Maddie, and she was like, hey, I love what you're doing with this podcast. Like, tell me about it. I want to follow, I want to share, I want to like, I want to subscribe. I'm like, say less, girl, say less. You never know who's listening and you never know who needs to hear that. So just putting yourself out there and whatever you are passionate about, people will feel that love and that passion that you have for whatever it is. So get out of your own way. You're the only person that's like, oh my gosh, why are you doing that?
So true. And even just as somebody that ran the marathon, I think that was so motivating to just see the plethora of diversity in the marathon. There was there were several blind people running with guides. There were kids. There were, just things that you don't expect. And it just was so motivating, just realizing like, oh my gosh, like 0.1% or 0.01% of the world's population has run a marathon. And I'm amongst this group, and look how freaking beautifully diverse this is. Everyone's welcome that wants to be there, right? You don't have to have that 6-pack hot body with 0% body fat. If you can, and this is my fourth tip, if you can put one foot in front of the other, even when the going gets tough, you're going to accomplish your goal. You're going to finish. It's about consistency. It's not about speed. So, I think about the tortoise and the hare. I was totally the tortoise. The winning person ran the marathon in 2 hours and 15 minutes. The second place, who was a woman, let's go, was 2 hours, 30 minutes. Xana's time, 7 hours and 16 minutes. But I'll take it. I finished. That was my goal. Oh, crap, as I throw my microphone on the floor. Let's put this back up. So my goal was to finish. It was not to win. It was not to win. That was not my goal. And it's funny because that's the first thing people will ask you. Oh, you did a marathon. How long did it take you? And so it's always kind of this place where, it's like when you get married, when are you going to have kids? Like, shut up. Just celebrate that I freaking finished. Okay. It doesn't matter my time. But I've embraced it. I've embraced it. But I think the longest was 17 hours. There was from 2 hours to 17 hours, all different types and styles and kinds and shapes of people that had the same goal. Some people wanted a personal record and wanted to do it fast. Some people wanted to get over heartbreak or loss or dedicate their run to somebody. Some people just wanted to finish the race and accomplish the goal and get the medal. And everybody was there. Everybody was celebrated. Everybody can say that they finished the marathon, which I thought was just beautiful. I think another thing that I'd want on the record is how thankful I am for the people in my field that joined this effort. So many of you know on the podcast, this dream was discussed on an interview with Chris Chandler during Building to Bloom last year. And I had told him that I'd always had the goal of running the Honolulu Marathon ever since I lived in Hawaii. And all my friends bailed. And because I didn't really have the confidence to do it alone, I decided to bail too. And he's like, "We'll do it now." And I was like, "You're right. I should do it." And then he's like, "I'll do it too." And, I was at the point where I had made terms with myself that I was going to do it alone. But now I had Chris, and Chris had his husband, Brad. And then my best friend from college and roommate, Chelsea, came and bamboozled her sister, which we had an amazing time with them going all around the island prior to the marathon and after. But I was so thankful for, I think, Chris being that butterfly of health that just was a mentor, also a bee and a cheerleader. I think Chelsea as well was a bee because she'd run marathons before and she got me out of my head and helped me get a pace. And these girls like Amelia and Chelsea are like practically 6 feet tall. Y'all, I'm 5'1.5". Like, so my pace it's hard to keep up with women that are tall like that. My Amazonian princesses over here. But I got into a rhythm with them and ran so far, so fast. Like, I think we were pacing at finishing at 5 hours once we hit like 12, 13 miles. But then, the wall comes. So like 18, 19, 20 miles, I could feel my feet starting to blister and my hip hurt, but I pushed through the pain. But I felt like this aching of like, man, I'm holding them back. And I didn't want to finish the race like that. I didn't want to finish the race feeling pressured to keep up pace and run at their speed. And so at one point, I was like, y'all need to go ahead. And then I got to be in, my pace and see things that I needed to see and have the stories that I needed to have on my own. So I started the race in a field of people, but then I was able to finish the race with me. And I had set the goal of dedicating each mile to somebody, which I kept up with till about 16 miles. And then that went out the window. And so 16 to 26.2, that last 10.2 miles was about me doing something that I'd never done before, running the farthest, doing the hardest thing outside of having children, birthing children. And at one point, the last 2 miles, they don't really tell you, like throughout the whole race, they have these giant signs about what mile marker you're at. And then as you get to like 24, 25, 26, you don't really see anything. It almost feels lonely. And I remember catching the 25th mile and kind of having a brain funk, like, oh my gosh, I still have 2 miles. And I was like, no, I don't. I only have a mile, like 1.2 miles left. Oh my gosh. And so I caught this wind, right? And this was before I skipped a part here. The 24th mile, y'all, was straight hill, was a straight incline over a beautiful view of the ocean. Okay. So, I mean, I can't complain, but it was so hard and I had to walk it. But I kept putting one foot in front of the other. I stayed consistent. I kept moving my body. Even though I wasn't running anymore, I just kept moving forward no matter what. And as I got to like the 26th mile, I had the courage to keep running. And there were people all over the place, y'all. There were people lining the streets, cheering. Chris was at the end of the finish line waiting for me, gave me a huge hug. Chelsea and Amelia had finished, 20 minutes earlier than me, and they were with Giselle waiting, and they were texting me. People from work were texting me and encouraging me. But I had to battle with my own inner thoughts. I had all this support. I had all these people in my field, but I had to choose to keep moving forward. And I was able to run, right? And I hadn't really listened. I didn't train with my music or any entertainment. Like, I just kind of wanted to be able to connect with people and talk with my friends, and only use the music when I really, really, really needed it. And so at the 26 mile, I put Izzy, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, on repeat, because that was always a special song. When I lived in Hawaii, I had beautiful moments hearing that song when I lived on the island. And that's how I wanted to finish. And so that's how I did it. I ran through that finish line, listening to Izzy on repeat, getting my medal, getting my malasada, seeing Gigi and just hugging her and crying because she was there to witness that blue moment, as well as Chelsea and Amelia. And it was just magic. So I think really, when I take out everything that I could have learned, it was be consistent. There's so many times in my life right now where I'm like, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I didn't reach the finish line yet. I didn't get to that boom moment. But it's because I stopped moving towards the goal. So if you just keep putting one foot in front of the other and stay consistent, eventually you'll get there. No matter how long it takes, eventually you will get there.
That was such a powerful. I know that you guys talked about how powerful the energy is at these marathons. And that is my tip, my last tip. Um, the harvest. Oh my gosh. Just being there for someone else's blue moment and just being in that harvest of being able to cheer them on and being like, you got this, you're doing great. Just seeing the faces, like it really got me really emotional because the faces of determination of like, I'm freaking finishing this no matter what. And even when we talked earlier about focusing on the shore, they were freaking focused on the shore. I remember when you were crossing, I was like screaming Santa, but you were like so focused. I'm like, let me get my damn medal. Everybody get the hell out of my way. Like, there were people just at that point, they were like trying to walk. There were people that went back and help people cross the finish line. It was such a powerful, such an amazing harvest to be able to see that, to be a freaking cheerleader for these total strangers that I'm just like, you freaking got this. And then meeting some of them that ran the marathon, they're like, yeah, I came alone. I'm like, they didn't have someone to cheer them, but they had all of us, all of those people that were waiting for you guys to reach your blue moment and cheer you on. And it was just so powerful. I'm getting goosebumps. It was just such an amazing experience to be part of that for you guys and to feel that energy of like that you guys were putting out. Like, I just did this really hard thing. I just did this really hard thing and I made it. And I freaking made it. And I was like, stop. When I saw that lady with her baby crossing the finish line, I was like, there's no, yeah, there's no words. You need to experience. If you don't experience the marathoning part, the running part, I totally recommend to go for the Honoluluing and experience the aftermath because it was really powerful.
And I even think of the firefighters. There were firefighters in full, like, firefighter gear get up. We saw a guy in like a Japanese, like, custom robe where they have these like wooden shoes. He ran the entire 26.2 in those wooden shoes. Girl, I had regular, beautiful Hoka running shoes that ended up getting wet at some of the water stations, and I got horrible blisters, horrible blisters. So I could only imagine if he ran 26.2 in like wooden flip-flops with like platformed on top of it. Crazy, right? But he did it, right? That was his blue moment that he wanted, and he did it. Like, I thought at one point, oh, he's gonna take them off. Like mile 20, he's gonna take them off. No, somebody saw him cross the finish line with those shoes on. Who else did I see? Someone ran it barefoot. it's just incredible. Some of the things, some of the bloom moments people were going for, and no judgment. Like it was cool to see how, you know, diverse the goals of, you know, what type of finish they were looking for existed across this field of people. I think there were 33,000 runners. So from 2 hours to 17 hours there, you know, anything was possible. So never doubt yourself. Anything is possible. You just have to continuously be consistent. So my fifth and final one, it makes me laugh. But when it was happening, I was so mad. Um, the day after the marathon, I told G I wanted to keep moving my body because something my coach, my coach Chelsea told me was if you lay around all day, like you're going to get more sore. And that's like even having a baby, that's what they tell you. Get up, move around, because if you just stay bedridden, you're going to, like, your body will respond to that. It'll think, okay, you're not well. And so your body won't heal as fast. And so I was like, okay, I know I want to walk. Like, let's go on a hike. And Giselle had a good friend in Hawaii that she went to school with, and she sent her this whole list of hikes. And so we chose one on the windward side. And, you know, it said it was an easy hike, that it had a waterfall. And that was our goal. We wanted a waterfall moment together since G had a beautiful one at Manoa Falls. And we get there, and it's not really like a, you know, like Diamond Head, where it's a paved path and you kind of know it leads you to the finish line. This one was like a forest, and it was more of a local hike. They didn't want a lot of tourists there. So it actually online would say that it was closed. And what we found out on the island is that a lot of times they'll say that the hike is closed, but it's because they don't want a bunch of tourists going there. So it's more for locals. And we got there and we just kind of followed the woods and, you know, talked to other people, and we ended up getting lost for like 2 hours. We to the point, and we had moments, right? We had a beautiful moment where we meditated and we made the most of it. We had water. I had a bunch of snacks. I'm a mother, so like I took care of Giselle, that's for sure. And we got to a space where we ended up back on a road. And it felt like an M. Night Shyamalan movie, like where we thought we were going to be in this like forest wooded area with nobody else or just other hikers. And then all of a sudden we're back into society. And I'm like, what are we doing? We're walking back up this hill to get back to the entrance that we went in from the get-go. My blisters from the marathon are like popping. My body hurts. And I was like, gee, let's like see if there's anything online. And so again, we're pulling from the field, trying to see if somebody else has taken this hike and knows the path to get to this waterfall. And somebody had posted, follow the pink ribbons. So all of a sudden we see all these pink ribbons, but they're everywhere. There's no like logical sense to it. It's like a maze. And so we're trying our best to find these. And I'm like, why don't we listen for water? Because the waterfall is going to be where the water stream is, just upstream. And so now we're walking close to the water, but still we cannot find this stinking waterfall. And it wasn't until we decided to ask for help, and we literally all had to be screaming. We were like, help, humans, is there anyone there? And finally, Giselle made contact with Life and asked them for directions, like, hey, what's the best way to get there? And as we listened to their advice, we finally reached the waterfall. But I had to take a moment. I was in so much pain. I wasn't expecting to hike this much the day after the marathon. Gigi thinks I'm having like another meditation moment, but I literally sat with my back to the waterfall for like a good 10, 15, maybe even 20 minutes to just be able to be present with the waterfall without a mindset of being annoyed. And so I was able to let it go and like stretch my legs and get into a headspace where I could go and take these beautiful photos with my best friend in Hawaii and be present and not allow that journey that it took to get there, the stem that it took to get there, to ruin the bloom moment. And so I think that again is a beautiful analogy of sometimes you got to ask for help. You're not going to know the way, and you're going to continue to walk in circles unless you humble yourself and you talk to somebody else that's gone through that experience that can give you better pointers on what way you need to turn, what way you need to go so that you can reach the blue moment. that's my fifth and final lesson from Hawaii. And what I'm surprised we haven't talked about, G, is Indigo Hawaii. So if you ever go to Hawaii, Oahu specifically, you need to go on this boat tour because that was probably the most epic way to end this beautiful trip. I don't know what life lesson that I'd pull from it, but I think all of these life lessons for me added up to this moment where I could get on a boat. I could go jump in the open ocean and swim with wild dolphins. I could do backflips off said boat and not be afraid when some man went into a shark cave to take, bring the sharks out, to swim near turtles. Before I knew a friend that got bit by a turtle and they're illegal to touch. So I don't want to swim near them. What if I touch one? Right? No, I could just be present and live without fear and have the freaking best day of my life in one of the most beautiful places, right? It was just missing my kids and my husband, but I had my best friend there and amazing company and beautiful nature. And it was just incredible. So I didn't want to leave this interview without giving them a shout out because I think for both of us, that was probably one of the most magical moments of the entire trip.
Oh my gosh, Indigo Hawaii was amazing. I still look at the video, which we'll post on our social, and I still can't believe it was coming straight at us. The dolphin was coming straight at us. The video looks it looks fake. Like dolphins are so majestic and flexible and powerful in the water, and they move so fast. It's definitely one for the books. It was such an amazing experience. And again, like you said, all the lessons that we learned in Hawaii really led to this moment of us literally, like, the boat was still moving. They're like, jump off the boat. I'm like, say less. We're jumping off the boat in the middle of the ocean. It was 4 miles down, 4 miles of straight ocean. And when you're in there, it's literally just blue. So peaceful. Like, I wish I could have been born a mermaid. It was so peaceful. So peaceful. And you could hear the echoes of the dolphins in the water. Like, it was just amazing. We recommend it 10 out of 10. And if you take anything from this episode, like, stop falling into your insecurities. Let go of your fear so you can reach your full potential. Keep going. Stay calm. Ride that wave, that foot one in front of the other. Keep going. I know things get hard, but they are not as hard as we think they are because we are powerful and we are capable. Keep going.